Tiffany Henyard, who was appointed to that position tonight, lost her bid for the Democratic Party's nomination in this rare
18 months after our first WGN Investigates report on questionable spending by South Suburban politician Tiffany Henyard, it appears she has been...
Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dalton, Illinois, and former supervisor of Thornton Township, finds herself once again at the center of political chaos, as her career is seemingly on the brink of collapse. Known for her controversial actions and public outbursts, Henyard's recent struggles have thrown her political future into question. With her name removed from the Democratic ballot and facing multiple legal challenges, many are left wondering if this is the end of her political career or merely a temporary setback before a potential comeback to drama reached new heights during a recent Democratic caucus in Homewood, Illinois, where Henyard was fighting to maintain her position as township supervisor. For the first time in 30 years, a caucus was used instead of a primary to select candidates for leadership roles in Thornton Township. This event, held at the Homewood Flossmoor Park District Auditorium, drew hundreds of political hopefuls and community members, all eager to see who would be nominated for the coveted leadership positions. However, as the event began, it became apparent that Henyard's path to nomination was far from certain. According to the caucus rules, a candidate for township supervisor was required to have the support of at least 8 people, including key positions such as highway director, clerk, assessor, and trustees. Henyard, however, had not secured a certified assessor, which led to her disqualification. As a result, her name was excluded from the Illinois ballot as the Democratic candidate for supervisor, a significant blow to her political ambition. State Senator Napoleon Harris, who also served as a Thornton Township Democratic committeeman, had already taken charge of the caucus and effectively ended Henyard's chances by overseeing a tightly controlled nomination process. The situation quickly turned tense, with Henyard vocally accusing Harris of orchestrating an unfair and unlawful procedure. "You didn't run any of this the right way," she angrily told him during proceedings. Her emotional outburst wasn't the end of the drama. Instead of quietly leaving the auditorium after her disqualification, Henyard remained defiant, vowing to fight back against what she deemed an unjust process. She claimed that logistical issues, such as her supporters, many of them senior citizens, arriving late and being unable to enter the venue due to a 600-person capacity limit, were part of a larger conspiracy to thwart her chances. Henyard insisted that her supporters had been deliberately excluded, framing the entire caucus as a rigged system designed to deny her the opportunity to participate. Her claims of conspiratorial plot to sabotage her candidacy were further supported by Henyard's assertion that she would pursue legal action against everyone involved in the decision, including those who orchestrated the caucus. "I will sue," she vowed, presenting her disqualification as an example of a political system rigged against her and her supporters. Henyard's legal team echoed her sentiments, arguing that her slate of candidates had been unfairly disqualified. They contended that the caucus rules had been selectively applied, a claim which only intensified the legal battle. On the opposing side, Harris's lawyer refuted Henyard's accusations, asserting that the caucus had followed all regulations and had been planned well in advance. They emphasized that all procedures were followed according to the established rules and that Henyard's disqualification was in line with the guidelines. Harris, who had organized the caucus and moved the process from a primary system to a caucus format, defended his actions as part of his duty as committeeman. He argued that the transition to the caucus system was designed to streamline the nomination process and remove the need for a large public election. This move, while legal and procedural, was seen by Henyard's supporters as a strategic move to undermine her political standing. For Henyard, the change in procedure represented more than just a logistical shift. It was a direct attack on her ability to challenge Harris's political machine. She insisted that the new rules were a deliberate attempt to silence her and quash the momentum of her political base, particularly among the senior citizens who had rallied to her cause. In Henyard's view, this wasn't just a debate over caucus rules, but a broader political struggle for power, with her and her supporters caught in the crossfire. The growing conflict between Henyard and Harris symbolized a larger battle for control of Thornton Township and, by extension, the local Democratic Party. Henyard accused Harris and his allies of using their influence to rig the system in their favor, stifling the will of the people. As the situation unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't merely a dispute over procedural fairness. It was a high-stakes battle for political legitimacy. Despite the mounting challenges, Henyard remained resolute, determined to press on in her quest for justice. Her lawyer promised to take the case to court, accusing Harris and his team of manipulating the process to prevent Henyard from taking part in the democratic process. Meanwhile, Henyard supporters rally behind her, believing that the caucus had been rigged from the start and that their candidate had been unfairly excluded from the race as the drama continues to unfold. One thing remains clear: Tiffany Henyard is not one to back down easily. Whether or not she will emerge victorious from this legal battle remains to be seen. But for now, her political future remains uncertain. Will this controversy mark the end of her career, or will she use it as a springboard for a comeback? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: Tiffany Henyard's political journey is far from over.
32 minutes to an individual that doesn't give a damn about anybody's time but hers.
Tiffany Henyard supporters remain hopeful that she can still mount a winning campaign, relying on her strong name recognition among her loyal base. Despite the controversy surrounding her political career, her backers argue that her vocal supporters will ensure her continued relevance. They believe a write-in campaign could still be a viable option, pointing to the fact that many people still recognize her name. To them, her recent loss is simply another hurdle in what has been a long political journey. However, Henyard's opponents view her defeat as well-deserved, convinced that her career has been marred by scandal after scandal. Detractors have raised multiple allegations against her, including reckless spending and the misuse of township resources. Over the past year, numerous reports have surfaced about Henyard's extravagant spending of public funds, such as high-end vacations, expensive dinners, and first-class flights. These revelations have only fueled criticism, with many questioning how she could justify spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars on Amazon purchases, especially when her constituents are struggling to make ends meet. Such accusations of financial mismanagement have only added to her already tarnished reputation. Critics argue that Henyard's leadership style has been harsh and combative, alienating both her colleagues and the local residents she was elected to serve. At a recent Dalton Village Board meeting, Henyard's defiant attitude was on full display when she brazenly declared, "Like it or not, I am your mayor," despite growing discontent among the attendees. The response to her remarks was telling, with many in the crowd either walking out or turning their backs to her as she spoke, illustrating the deep division in the community under her leadership. Henyard's confrontational and authoritarian approach has only deepened the rift between her and the residents of Dalton. The community's dissatisfaction has been compounded by a lack of effective leadership in the Dalton Police Department. For much of the year, Dalton has been without a permanent police chief, leaving the department in a state of confusion and instability. When a judge ruled that Henyard's hand-picked interim police chief was unfit to serve, he was swiftly removed from office, further undermining her credibility. This debacle, coupled with reports of low morale within the police force, has raised serious concerns about Henyard's ability to govern effectively. Officers have reportedly been feeling overworked, unsupported, and demoralized as the department struggles without consistent leadership. This ongoing leadership crisis within the police department is just one more example of Henyard's failure to provide stability and support for the community as her tenure as mayor continues. Many Dalton residents are feeling increasingly disillusioned and frustrated, believing they are not being adequately represented or protected. Despite these mounting challenges, Henyard supporters remain steadfast. Convinced that she can overcome the odds and continue her political career, however, her opponents are far less optimistic. They see her latest loss as a sign that her time in office may be nearing its end. The combination of ongoing scandals, her combative leadership style, and the instability within Dalton's police department has left many questioning whether Henyard can continue to hold on to power. The road ahead for Tiffany Henyard is undoubtedly fraught with obstacles. Whether she can recover from these setbacks and continue her political career remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that her ability to navigate these challenges will be crucial in determining the future of her political legacy.
Not let her get back and to be the mayor, and we already know she's not going to win that supervisor seat.
Tiffany Henyard's tenure as mayor of Dalton and her time as supervisor of Thornton Township have been plagued by a surge of controversy, allegations of financial mismanagement, and mounting public dissatisfaction. In addition to growing crime concerns in Dalton, which residents blame on Henyard's failure to allocate sufficient resources to law enforcement, the absence of consistent police leadership has only exacerbated the situation. Many argue that the mayor's excessive focus on her own protection, including the spending of hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on her own police detail, has left the community vulnerable, and without proper public safety measures, the situation took a darker turn with allegations that Henyard used the police department as a political tool, leveraging it to target her critics. Several local business owners have claimed they were subjected to raids after refusing to contribute to Henyard's events. These accusations have sent shockwaves through the community, with some business leaders publicly denouncing the mayor, calling her abuse of power a betrayal of public trust. In their eyes, Henyard is no longer fit to lead, and should never return to her position as mayor. Nor should she hold any future office in the township. This crisis is not confined to the police department alone. Henyard's administration has also been accused of obstructing the flow of vital grant funds, hindering projects that could benefit the community. A prime example of this is the $400,000 grant for local park renovations that is now at risk of expiring because Henyard's office allegedly failed to provide the necessary approvals. Park district officials have publicly criticized the mayor, accusing her of prioritizing personal political grievances over the needs of the citizens. One official stated bluntly that Dalton's residents are suffering because of the disrespect and lack of cooperation from the mayor's office as the divide between Henyard and her critics continues to widen. The financial mismanagement under her leadership has only intensified. Some trustees have suggested that Henyard's handling of the township's finances is not a result of incompetence, but a deliberate strategy to consolidate control and limit the power of future leaders. One trustee even claimed that Henyard's push to significantly reduce the pay of future township supervisors was a calculated effort to ensure no one could challenge her authority. This claim has only fueled further speculation that Henyard sees public office as a personal domain rather than a responsibility to serve the people of Dalton with mounting financial struggles, a lack of leadership in the police department, and growing divisions within the community. Dalton has become a hotbed of frustration and disillusionment. Many residents feel their concerns are being ignored and their needs are being dismissed. Critics of Henyard's leadership contend that her actions, mismanaging finances, using the police as a political weapon, and obstructing critical community projects, demonstrate her focus is on preserving her grip on power rather than serving the public. As each day passes, the town's faith in her leadership continues to erode, and calls for her removal grow louder. The situation in Dalton has reached a boiling point. Many residents and local leaders are questioning how much longer they can tolerate the mayor's actions. Despite her attempts to portray herself as a champion for people, Henyard's leadership has caused deep divisions and unrest. The damage inflicted on Dalton both financially and politically is undeniable, and it seems increasingly unlikely that she can repair the trust she has lost. The question now is whether the people of Dalton can reclaim their town from what they now see as an administration that is corrupt, ineffective, and out of touch with the needs of the public as the financial crisis deepens. Tiffany Henyard's administration has come under intense scrutiny. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot pointed to Dalton's general fund balance, which has drastically dropped by 2024, growing over a $3 million deficit, down from over $5 million in 2022. This alarming decrease has raised questions about Henyard's fiscal management, especially after reports surfaced revealing luxury goods and mysterious credit card charges linked to her office. Critics have labeled Henyard as the worst mayor in America and are calling for more accountability from her administration. Residents, who see themselves as a true authority, have become increasingly vocal in their frustration. They insist that they are the bosses of the local government and will not tolerate being treated disrespectfully. Despite Henyard's defiant stance, calling her detractors political opportunists, and vowing to continue fighting for her constituents, the reality is that her efforts to present herself as a fighter are no longer convincing. As the pressure continues to mount, it is becoming harder for her to maintain any credibility. Calls for transparency have grown louder, with watchdog organizations and neighborhood activists organizing town halls and forums to demand answers. Some are even pushing for a state audit of Dalton's finances, hoping to fully expose what they describe as unbridled corruption within the mayor's office. Supporters of these efforts argue that if Henyard is truly innocent, she should welcome an investigation. But if she is guilty, the public has a right to know the truth. These growing movements have transformed Henyard's political struggles from a matter of political interest into a grassroots movement for change. The public, watching with a mix of fascination and disbelief, is left wondering how Henyard will respond to the mounting pressure. Will she rally her supporters and stage a dramatic comeback? Or has her turbulent political career finally reached its inevitable conclusion? One commenter summed up the mood of many by stating, "You didn't get a chance to speak. What's left to say? Bye, Felicia." Another was even more blunt, declaring, "The woman needs to be arrested and her assets seized before she's put in prison for life," as Henyard faces more legal battles, ongoing investigations, and a community that seems more divided with each passing day. The future of her political career hangs in the balance. The damage done, both to her reputation and the town of Dalton, may have reached a point of no return. Only time will tell whether Henyard can defy the odds once again and emerge stronger, or if the growing chorus of calls for accountability will finally bring her down. As investigations and lawsuits continue, Tiffany Henyard's story is far from over. Stay tuned for more updates on this unfolding political saga.